Welcome, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Business Builders Podcast. Elena is still in China, and it's currently 2 o'clock in the morning. Elena, I don't know how you're not sleeping right now, but how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Probably more awake than you are right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of used to staying up all night. I went to bed 6 a.m. last night, so it's only 2 a.m.
Yeah,
Still early.
yeah, you're putting me to sleep right now just thinking about that. Well, today we have an exciting guest. This is somebody, if you're building your business or you're scaling or you want to scale multiple companies, this is somebody you definitely want to listen to. We have with us today Andreas Peterson. Andreas, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm amazing. I heard that you guys are great as well, and I feel for Helena. I'm really sorry about the jet lag. I'm about to jump on a flight to go on my trip to Europe for the Christmas and New Year, so I will suffer tomorrow.
That's great.
Yeah, that's why. Got a nice nitro cold brew over here to keep me awake. I think Helena should get one too.
Well, I just all of us are wearing black today.
Oh yeah, I just realized that. Nice.
Yeah, all black.
Matching colors, I love
I
it.
know.
That was not planned. That was not planned, everybody.
Yes.
So, for people that are listening, Andreas, what's your story? How did you get into, coaching and also building different types of businesses and constantly moving around? And why should people listen to you?
I'll start with the last question. People should listen to me because I have screwed up so many freaking times that you don't want to make the same mistakes I have made, and that's why let me just listen to me. Please don't do what all the stupid shit I did. I'll try to do my story pretty quick. I started by failing high school and then ended up working in a factory and realizing that life kind of sucked. Luckily, I grew up in Sweden. We can redo our high school. I basically quit the day after I realized that life sucked working in a factory. Went in, redid high school in 2 years, then took my first bachelor, my master in software engineering, and then later on I took another master in and an MBA as well. But then I started working as a software engineer. Worked for a software engineer probably for 3 months, and then I was picked up to be a manager. And I went from the bottom of the food chain all the way up to moving to US 2014 and running an incubation and ventures group up in Silicon Valley. One of the projects we were working on there became a product. So we spun out a separate company from that, went to Canon, got funding, was an executive for 10 years, grew that company, or I was a CEO for 7 years. And then I had a successful exit almost 1.5 months ago. So I decided to not continue on the corporate path and instead pursue what I am much more passionate about, which is helping other entrepreneurs become fearless leaders and help them basically scale using rocket fuel instead of organic diesel fuel. That's my
What
quick story.
So throughout your story, like, what made you? Did you always feel it like you wanted to help others, or was it around like you building and you being a CEO for 7 years, you started to realize like that's where your passion truly is?
I love that question. So I grew up with a single mother and who worked at a daycare. No one in my family had a high education. We didn't have high income. We were as poor as you can get in Sweden. I always was taught from my mother early on that everyone is equal, no matter skin tone, religion, background, ethnicity. It just doesn't matter viewpoints. Everyone is a human being and everyone deserves to be helped. Now, I don't want to go into the politics around this, but I am a person who I don't like injustice. So as soon as I became a manager, probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Oh, time flies. I'm old. Anyway, I realized that I want to give back and help others. So for a long time, I was helping women and people of diversity to get into higher positions in several different companies in the corporate world. And then after a few years, I realized that a lot of people who run their own companies, they don't have the leadership shops and the training typically required that you get from a corporate setting. not the corporate strategy, because that should stay in the corporate world and not be used in the entrepreneurial world. But I realized that I can actually help others that are founders, entrepreneurs. So I did that for many years pro bono, in weekends, in evenings. And then earlier this year, I realized that I'm too passionate about this. It's my ikigai, if you know what that is. The concept of something you love, something the world needs, something you're good at, and something you can get paid for. And when
Mm.
all those are in harmony, that's your ikigai. And I realized I just love helping others. So yeah, I started doing that instead of staying in the corporate world. And people think I'm crazy. I walked away from a very good salary. Um, but I want to fall asleep every day feeling I made a difference. So yeah, long story, but yes, I've been helping people for a long time. And I also believe in everyone deserves a chance if you're willing to put in the effort and take the action.
So among all the clients you're helping with right now, like roughly which stage are they in this entrepreneurship journey? Are they like just started, or are they in the messy middle trying to scale, where they have scaled already and are focusing on other aspects in life?
So, or at the moment, I have about 7 people I'm working with. It's a mixture. So, or some of them are, they have had their companies for a few years. They grew it with the initial partners, and then they sort of hit a plateau because the people you hire early on and you found a company are not the people you need when you go from 5 to 10 million, for example. 0 to 1, 2 million, same people. 3 to 5 million, you need different people. Or you need people who have done that journey before. So I have some people that are on that 5 to 20 million range, founders. I have some people that work in private equity that are the owners of the private equity. They're a big shareholder in their own funds and or in their own cap groups. And I'm helping them level up. They might not even be the founder and the CEO, but I'm helping them to get from um, SVP position, GM position into C-level positions. And I actually have a few other clients that are also from the corporate side that I'm helping go from VP, break the glass ceiling into a C-level. To say it very quick, the biggest thing there are people that they're stuck realizing that they should operate with tactics and politics. And if you want to go from VP to C-level in a corporate world, resilience, control your freaking emotions. 2, think more strategic. And 3, learn to delegate and be less afraid of giving more authority and power to the people reporting to you. That's how you get
Mm.
into a C-level position. And then the third candidate of people I'm actually helping right now are people who are in the corporate world, have come up with a really good startup idea, and they want to move over to the entrepreneurial world. So I am helping those people detox their brains out of all the corporate learnings and learning to be scrappy, ready, fire, aim, and not the other way around, and fail fast forward. And a lot of that is a mindset shift, but I'm also showing them how they can raise capital for their ideas. The latter is something I work for, not for money, it's more equity in whatever they're starting. So I
Mm.
do a little bit of everything. My problem is I attract people sometimes that just want help. And if I reject people as well, I need to feel there's a culture fit. But what I love the most, and no dig now on people that I am helping, because I'm helping almost everyone here. I love helping founders. I love helping entrepreneurs that grew their company, got stuck, realizing they're the chief problem solver instead of hiring and elevating the right people, basically, and delegation. That's what I love, because when they get going, then the returns are insane for them.
Mm-hmm. What
That's
are
awesome.
Long
So
answer, sorry.
no, no, that's great.
That's great, yeah. I was gonna ask, so what are some difference between 0 to 2 million compared to, let's say, 3 to 5 compared to 5 to 20 million? Like, what's the major difference of either the founder or the nature of the company itself? And a follow-up question for that is, what are some common pattern for each stage?
Yeah, so I think there are 3 stages, and they come roughly where you said. It's the first step is grind and focus, and becoming in like the first. So you can get with really working hard and just grinding, combined with a focus, and it's not what you say yes to that make you successful, it's what you say no to. You can get to about $2 to $3 million in revenue, and you can have, depending on how big the company is, you can reach about 15-20 people. After that, you go into systemizing things. You need some processes. You need to learn to delegate properly. But delegation isn't the key thing yet, but it is absolutely processes that are repeatable. And there I help people define the process, find the partners, because often a founder is visionary, and now they need someone who is more COO, integrator, operating, someone who gets shit done basically. And then they need to learn to set up the processes so it's repeatable, because at this phase between 3 million to 10 million, 12 million, that's where you are constantly cycling through people, because you haven't nailed leadership yet.
Mm.
I would say when you hit about 10 to 12 million, you are 50 people, maybe, depending on if it's a blue collar service industry or white collar industry. Obviously, it depends on pay scales and how you operate your business. But after about 50 people and those numbers, it's all about leadership, in my mind. Leadership is how you get from up to even 100 million. You need to learn to delegate and elevate. You need to learn to operate with high level of resilience. You need to learn to divide and conquer. You need to start killing politics in your company. You need to make sure you think of succession planning, scaling out, not solving problems for others. In the up to 10 million, it's still okay that you're solving a lot of things, but you got to make sure you delegate and elevate there as well. But it's more systems and processes that is the crucial aspect. What was your second question? Sorry, I forgot about that.
It's the common pattern for each stage, but I think you sort of answered that
Yeah.
already, and that's really good. So basically, zero.
But
Go ahead.
I can clarify it. 0 to 3, it's all about focus, like laser focus, grinding, avoid red herrings, avoid distractions. 2 to 10, to make that range rougher, systems, processes, cycle through many people to get the right team in place. Maybe find the right partnership as well in that phase, so you have someone to delegate a little to. 10 to 20 to 100 million, leadership, mindset. You're running a marathon. You're much more focused on growing people, growing organizations. It's not only about growing. You need to develop a scaling mindset. And growth mindset and scale mindset are not the same thing. You need to learn to move away from fear-based motivation to abundance mindset, think bigger mindset. And then somewhere like when you hit 50, you need like when you are hundreds of people, you're going to need a COO for sure. You're going to need a whole executive team. You're going to need to probably have some compliancy through a board of directors. You're going to work with a lot of advisors. But the hardest journey that most people screw up is the 0 to 2, 3 million. And it is because they're distracted. A lot of people that are entrepreneurial, they're very ADHD. So what they tend to do is self-sabotage. And once they maybe been in the corporate world before, and now they are starting to get success, and all of a sudden they get structure in, and guess what happens? They don't feel valuable anymore. So now they start picking something else where it's chaos, and they're sort of drawn to chaos. So it's the hardest part is to get the 0 to 3 million, 3 million, and make it repeatable. So many people fail there. Where I shine are people that are on that, like they have figured it out. They're not the earliest stages. They have some repetition in their business, but they're trying to break that barrier going from 7 to 8 figures. And
Mm.
that's the hard part.
And you just said something that I want you a little clarify on. You said growth mindset is different than scale mindset, and you need scale mindset once you're at the leadership, delegate, and elevate part. Can you explain like the difference between the scale mindset and the growth mindset, and kind of like how that changes your view of thinking?
Yeah, so when you're operating with, if you haven't run a larger business before, you have a growth mindset, is linear. Think the biggest difference is linear versus exponential. So growth, linear, scaling, exponential. The linear mindset is we did X amount of profit last year, so we can reinvest X amount for this year. And when we hit this target, then we're going to hire this person. When we hit this milestone, we're going to implement this department. That's growth mindset. If you want to scale up, you either need to raise capital, you need to hire people that are much more expensive A players, and you need to bet the money and bet the whole company and bet the farm basically on that you're capable of scaling it. The level of risk tolerance is much higher, but the returns are so much higher as well. And many people sadly get stuck in their frugal way they operated between 0 to 3 million. To be honest, it's one of the biggest barriers to break. That and delegation, like just giving someone else and systemizing it so you're not needed. That's the hardest part for people to break through. But you have the same problem when you start approaching the 8-figure mark. You are going to get into problems where you're still operating with a growth mindset, not a scale mindset. And if you don't recognize that, you're going to be frugal and settle for hiring the COO. You're
Mm.
going to settle for hiring a specific person in a specific department. Or if we just get these things to happen for us, then we're going to invest and get the right people. Like it just, you need someone, you need to be punched in the face literally by someone who have done that before. And I mean, it's a little self-promotion here, but don't work with me, work with anyone. But you need to be properly punched. Like, no, we got to relearn how we run a business. Like, congratulations, you were successful up to 5-6 million. Forget that. Like, different mindset now, new game. It's massive leveling up. And I see so many people screwing that up also because they're almost dependent on that dopamine hit of being the person who runs the
Hmm.
company, and now they have to start pushing that away. Very, very different. It's the same when I don't want to give a dig now on people that have said this, but sometimes when I interview people that I potentially would be advising, they can clearly afford it, but they go, I'm just going to hit that milestone. So it's probably going to take me a year or two, and then I get back to you. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's growth mindset. It's not scale mindset. A scale person would go, if I invest, not with me, invest with anyone. If I invest now, I literally save 2-3 years of struggle, and I can get that concentrated in 4 to 6 months. Yeah, it cost me upfront, but it's a scale mindset, and you will learn that much faster. That was a mini
Mm.
promotion for myself and other advisors and coaches.
So that
Yeah, I know. I firmly believe in coaches.
so I want to ask for growth and for scale. Is there like the sequence you grow first and then you scale later, where it's like intertwine, you grow for a while and then you scale and then you grow again? Like, is there any sequence for two?
I think it's a mindset thing. And I think awareness of when to apply what mindset, when to be risk averse, when to grow, and when to scale.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Awareness is key. I
Mm.
think when you have lived through all the three, you are able to distinguish which one you need for what situation. Um, you need to be adaptable, basically, and you need to be able to understand which situation you're in. One of the key things when I work with people, um, I don't. People come and they say, "I have a business problem. I have a leadership problem. I want to use you to strategize on it." And the thing is, they 1 in 10 is right. The other 9 in 10 have a mindset problem. They hit a certain limit and they're so certain. Like, I remember one guy, he actually ended up being a client, but he was talking with me for like 45 minutes selling why he was amazing. And I just leaned back and I asked him, why did you reach out to me? You clearly don't need me. You got this. And you should see the face. He was completely shocked when I said that. And the reason was that he just didn't understand that he was thinking in a very linear way and he was not aware. And now I worked probably for the first 4 to 6 weeks when I work with someone, it is very intense on awareness. I need you to be hyper aware of which mindset are you playing, a risk mindset, a problem solving mindset, a growth mindset, a scaling mindset. Like where are you operating? And you need in the moment, I make you hyper aware so you can make the right decisions for the right situation. And it's not one or the other. So to answer your question, Lena, it depends. But the key thing is awareness and an adaptive leadership style that fits in every single situation.
So sounds like
Great question, by the way.
it's happening in parallel. It's not like you are in one phase of scaling, in one phase of growth. It's like happening at the same time. It's more situational when you are dealing with different situations. You want to apply different mindset.
Yes. And I think absolutely.
Mhm.
I also think that a lot of people are so used to being tactical and they have, because again, remember what we said, laser focus and grind. And they still relapse into that behavior even when they pass the first stage. And sometimes you have to make them, how do I say, sometimes I need to shake up some clients and make them very aware that why are you applying like a leadership mindset that you used 3 years ago in the situation you're in now? Like, why are you defaulting back to who you used to be, not who you are now? And sometimes I think it comes from, and I can talk about this for a long time, so I will do the abbreviated or quick version here. Everyone have coping mechanisms and survival instincts. The main task of your brain is to keep you alive. And I think that we all have childhoods, experiences previously in life where we feel threatened or we have those coping mechanisms that we just apply on autonomously without even thinking. And I think when people have been so busy being busy, they forget to take a step back and think, okay, is this a coping mechanism from when I was a child, in a previous business partnership, in a previous experience? And they don't take enough time to just step back and relax. Sometimes you have to pause to go faster.
Mhm.
I can't explain why, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and then
Mm-hmm.
you start asking yourself some more reflective questions. So it seems like one of the main problems and probably the biggest problems most entrepreneurs face is that awareness slash self-awareness and also self-honesty I guess paradigm where they're asking questions, but they're not asking themselves the right questions at the moment. Maybe they are too scared to go that deep, or they just don't even know about the awareness. But now, once you have that awareness, right, and you could be more self-aware and know yourself really well, you could then figure out the situations and the patterns in your business to want to apply to those mindsets. But then there also is going to come skills, right? Like you're going to also need skills to grow. So what are some of, would you say, the more common or the, if I was to be like, all right, I want to apply, I want to learn skills, what should I focus my attention on these specific skills to be a very transformational leader?
I'm just going to comment on the awareness and then I will answer your question. I think awareness is key, and being curious is absolutely the best way to do anything in life. In relationships, in partnership with your kids, curiosity will make your brain grow until the day you die. The day you say, I am who I am, I know what I'm doing, that's the day the neural connections in your brain stops forming
Mm.
and you slowly die. Um, I think a couple of key tips I would give people is be very clear. Like, you don't schedule time to fill up your calendar. I make sure I have a break in the middle of the day every single day to recalibrate which emotional state am I in? Am I
Mm.
working on the right things? I always do it around noon. And it's not just sit down or I can skip it. No, it's holy for me. I do not skip my break. I have a very clear pattern of what I do during the break. I go out, I get some fresh air, I get some sunlight on my face. I journal in the middle of the day. I visualize in the morning, I journal during lunch, and I journal before going to bed. Why? Because I need to then reflect, am I doing the thing? Am I doing all the things I can be doing right now to be as effective as I possibly can? Many people only do that in the morning and the evening. And guess what? You're wasting half a day every single day. Compound that over a few years, guess who is most focused? The second thing I do, so I don't compromise on that. The second thing I do is I feel I document which ones can I say no to every single day. And it doesn't matter if you're in a corporate world, if you're an entrepreneur, you have that feeling of someone's been trying to ping me. I should call them back. I should text them back. Guess what? They are controlling your effectiveness. They are controlling what makes sense for them, not for you. So I stack rank people during my lunch break. I stack rank people in the morning and in the evening of who I'm going to ping the day after. And that means I will go with the people that are the highest value to me and my businesses first. And those are the people I will get back to. And then I also pick the media I will get back to them on. A phone call, we trick ourselves and say that's easy and it's going to take 5 minutes. It never takes 5 minutes. It takes 20 minutes because you feel you need to be social. I don't have 20 minutes for some people. Audio messages is a perfect way to go. Audio messages take 2 to 3 minutes. It's a more personal touch than a text message or an email. But it's still, and it's a monologue. I get my commands out or what I need them to do or what I'm asking them of, and they can reply with questions. I'm perfectly fine with that. The last thing I do, and it's such a freaking cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway. Healthy body, healthy mind. I have ADHD, right? And I'm very hyper. For me to stay focused and be very result oriented, and this applies if you don't have ADHD as well, I always operate with timers on my desk. I give myself a task time. If this is going to be 34 minutes and last time it took 35, so now I'm going to make it 34 or 32. And I try to improve the efficiency of everything I do every single day. And the reason why it sounds weird, it gives me two things. It gets me focus and it makes it a game for me to be quicker every single time. Effectiveness is everything for me. And that's something I do. I also write everything down. I always have pen and paper. I always have a cell phone. I always carry a very clear to-do list. I mean, I even run my life in Asana. Me and my wife have all our honey-do list in Asana. And I have to. I have literally, from the time I think of something, I have 3 seconds to start capturing it, or my ADHD have forgot about it. So I am,
I'm the same way.
you know the
Same
feeling.
way.
So I carry around. I have Post-its and pen and paper everywhere. I have my cell phones always meet me. I always walk around with a Claude, Claude or Otter AI. One is a device on the back of your phone. The other one is Otter. I use that to brainstorm when I'm free flowing, and that way I can take it. I put it into ChatGPT, Claude. I use all the other AI tools out there, like name it, I use it. And I really I keep a very systemized way of how I'm running my days. And that's another tool I highly recommend everyone to do. But don't just do it, try to get better at it. But back to healthy body, healthy mind. Sorry, I lose myself in my ADHD
No,
answers.
that's great.
But in my healthy body, healthy mind, what I'm trying to say is I take my break during lunch. I'm very cognizant of not eating high carb meals during lunch. I can eat high carb meals in the evenings. I don't like too much coffee isn't good for me. I eat magnesium taurate. It slows my brain down a little bit. It helps a little bit with me fidgeting all the time. Whenever I drink coffee, I drink one in the morning. I take, I don't know the English, L-theanine or something.
L-theanine, yeah,
I
something about.
take that, double the amount of the caffeine I take, and that makes my brain a lot more focused. I don't know if it's a placebo effect. I don't care. I exercise. I try to do some exercise, even if it's 10 minutes walk in the morning, because calm body means a focused brain. So I'm very intentful. Like I didn't get to grow this, like the last company I were with, other things. And right now, for people listening, I do a lot of things. I do my advisory for companies and for boards. I have my own real estate portfolio, multifamily, single family. I have a real estate investment fund, and I just started another software company as well that I'm raising capital for.
That's fantastic. And as you were going through it, like I was like visualizing like the day and some of the things that you were doing, and now you're doing so much, right? So you're very intentional with your day. So there's two questions I want to ask you. One, the journaling you do during at in noon, right? You're more reflecting on how am I emotionally right now? How's my emotional state, my energy state, and am I focusing on the tasks that I need to get done? Have I deviated from that type of thing? It's more of a reflection on how the day's been going so far, right? And then
Yes.
the journaling at night is basically a reflection of how the day went, and then what you would do differently or what you plan on doing tomorrow.
What can I do to get 1% better tomorrow? That's what I think of in the evening. What did I waste time on doing today? And trust me, like I have days where I go, screw it, I'm not going to do any work, I'm just going to be with friends and family. And I have my family time as well every single day from 6 p.m. to bedtime, which is usually 9:30. I am fully focused on the kids. But the thing is, because I grew up without a father and I know the feeling of having a parent that is physically there, not emotionally there. So I'm
Hmm.
very strict with that. But what I do in the first thing when I wake up in the morning, now I'm going to swear, don't grab your fucking phone. Like seriously, for the first 30 minutes, avoid it. Your brain is the clearest, non-judgmental, strategic focus. I see so many people who roll over and like, ooh, TikTok, ooh, Instagram, and it's wasteful. Like you're losing the best freaking time of the day. Instead, pen, paper, go outside, go to your favorite meditation spot, write down all the tasks you're going to do today, look at your notes from last night, think about what is the most critical thing I can do today to make a massive impact in what I'm doing, what's the most critical thing I can do this month, this year, and so on. And I write that down and I recalibrate it every single morning in a journal. And then at lunch, I look at do I live purposely? Have I done what I need to do? And I also have a little tradition. Every time I walk through a door frame, I think, which emotional state am I in? Am I happy, stressed, sad? Whatever I am. If I am stressed, why do I choose to be stressed? And then I
Hmm.
correct myself and I said, no, you need to go into the next meeting smiling, be happy, and think life is amazing. Okay, let's do that. But at lunch, I take 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes for me, by the way. I eat for about 40 minutes, spend a little time doing some lazy phone calls, friends, shopping, whatever I need to do. But then 20 minutes is like my time, sometimes with music, sometimes I'm walking. But the point is, have I done everything I was going to do in the morning that I had during my morning reflections? And am I on track to hitting my targets? Is there any emergency I need to deal with? Then let's do it now. And sometimes I take 5-10 minutes after lunch to just deal with private emergencies.
Now, for your time blocking, right? Because this is one of the things that most people struggle with. And from what I've found personally, is that what helps me is either the night before I like leave the office and go eat and everything, I'll schedule my next day and block out the hours that I plan on doing work that the night before. And then I'll also think on every Sunday, these are the major tasks I got to get done this week and schedule those major weekly tasks. And then I fill out the calendar basically the night before. How are
That's too
you?
late.
So you think you should do it the each day the morning of?
No, 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 no. The other way around. I try not to take meetings within 48 hours because it disrupts my flow too much. Then I'm too reactive on other people.
Not
Unless,
meetings.
oh,
Like
to
you
do's.
you you,
Oh,
you
yeah.
schedule your, yeah, I have reoccurring
Okay.
meetings always in there, and then I fill out the
Yeah.
time with my major tasks.
I usually put a blocker. Like I usually block up to noon. I have a little different days. So Thursdays and Fridays, I dedicate 100%. So since I'm doing a lot of things, I can't mix them throughout the day. I have to have full days where I wake up in the morning and I'm laser focused on one thing. So it's
Hmm.
either advisory real estate, or software. And Thursdays and Fridays are the days where I am laser focused on my advisory, coaching, mentoring. And what I typically do is I try to schedule all my sessions with people because I want to be hyper focused and give them the best time of my day. And the best time of my day is from 7 a.m. to 11:30. And Pacific, for those of you who are contacting me. But and I need to stay laser focused on people there, and that's why I usually do those sessions in the morning up to lunch those 2 days, and then in the afternoon I have a whole blocker. But the blocker is work on my business, and then I go to all my to-dos, all my notes, everything else, and then I just prioritize. After I've done everything, I stack rank them again. Done another thing, I stack rank or prioritize them again. And that way, but I always also try to journal how long time will I put on this? How long time will I spend on this? And sometimes you have to give yourself more time, but I don't give myself more than 10 minutes. Because if I give myself 10 minutes and, I'm just going to finish this. Oh, I just need to type this up. No, then I'll take a step back and I look at, is this really the most important thing to do? Am I overkilling this? Should I just be scrappy and send it out, be done with it, move on? Or who can I delegate this to if it's taking more time than I thought? And that's what I do. So I don't calendar out my things. I constantly reprioritize because I think if you calendar out, it becomes a lot of planning and then shit moves around, something becomes more urgent, and then you feel bad for moving around stuff in your calendar. But with external meetings, I try to book them 48 hours before so they don't disrupt my flow. And then my Mondays and Tuesdays are meeting days. This week is unusual because I'm flying out. Normally, this is my software day. And Monday, Tuesdays, I also do real estate, and weekend is also real estate if there is time. But I have learned that if you compartmentalize, and I did this in my corporate world as well, where I made sure I had meetings during certain days. I always had one-on-ones one day because you get yourself into the mindset of really listening to others, coaching them, advising them. And I had one day that was just strategy. Like Wednesdays used to be strategy for 7 years for me, where I read books in the morning. I look at the bigger picture things, and it's all strategy. I eject everyone out of my life on Wednesday for almost 7 years. And I'm like, it's focus time on strategy. So I'm very intentful because I think context switching is killing people. I think we have a problem in this country, especially with overeducation without taking action. I think people are mindless drones because of their phones. They think, how much will it really damage if I spend 10 minutes just checking in on Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever? No, put that when you're tired and bored in the evenings. When you have used the best capacity of your brain for that day, then look at social media. But so many people I'm just going to go I'm standing here anyway. And, what was it I was supposed to do this afternoon? Oh, look, a sale. I need to go on Amazon. It's, sorry, I get a little animated about this because I see so many people who are wasting their lives just being mindless drones. Sorry, you got me all revved up here. I don't know why. Next question.
Oh, this is all amazing. Notepad's almost full already.
So I feel like I'm kind of similar to you, which I don't block my calendar in a very strict manner, but I constantly reprioritize what is my next focus in the next 2, 3 hours or whatever. But do you feel like, sometimes you just need to have nothing to do and have your mind start wandering and you can be more creative and come up with ideas? Because I feel like if I, squeeze my day with all the tasks, I don't have time to think and I'm basically reacting all the time.
Yes, absolutely. And you need my creative time is again 7 to 11:30. What I do, and this is going to sound super weird. I believe in meditation, but I believe it in the form that works for me because I can't sit still and I need distractions. So there are a couple of times when I need to brainstorm on something and really think hard about something. for me, it's either laying in a bathtub early in the morning or late at night, or it's taking like a half an hour, 40-minute shower, and I literally have this pad or pen and paper in there. It's like waterproof paper in the shower, and I just sit and let the water flush on my head, and I'm literally writing everything down that comes to my mind. Some of my business ideas have come through that. I think allowing yourself to just letting the brain wander is an amazing tool, but you should do it when you have the least cognitive bias of your surroundings. And that's why I
Hmm.
believe the best way to do that is in the morning. You're fresh. And I actually think, I am not an expert at this, but I read somewhere that the chemicals in your brain after sleeping, you're not as judgmental, and you're because I mean, technically, your brain sits inside of a skull. It can't see. It has eyes to see, and it has nerve impulses, and ears, and mouths, and nose, and like all the other. So what I'm trying to say is, your brain has not been bombarded with information from all these other receptors on your body for a long time, and that's why I think when you get the nerve signal, it still passes through your emotional part of the brain before it reaches your frontal cortex and the logical thinking. But I do think it easier passes to a logical thought process earlier in the morning.
Hmm.
So absolutely. And then my other one is walking on the beach. For me, I live like 10 minutes from the beach, and just hearing the whoosh, the waves come in, it's such an unpredictable pattern that I just zone out and think of great ideas.
Yeah, I find that in the mornings, like during the meditation things, right before I get deep into meditation, mind's racing constantly. I'll just like type stuff down, like, oh, let me do this, let me do that. Oh, we should probably do this and do that. And I don't actually take the moment. And now after this, I think I'm going to, but I don't actually take the moment to just sit in that for like 10 or 15 minutes and just write everything down and then get into my meditation. I kind of try to quiet it at one point so I could meditate. But I think if I spend the first 10 or 15 minutes pre-meditation time with the meditation music on, I'll be able to just start really firing off different types of ideas and focuses and things like that. I like that a lot.
Is amazing. And then try to replicate it during lunch. Spend just
Mm.
15-20 minutes on it. It makes you not only much more focused, but it also resets. It makes you calm down, and it makes the afternoon, you walk around with a bigger smile on your face in the afternoon.
Hmm. That's amazing. So, and before right now, I'm just talking off the podcast. You have to hop off at 2:15, right, Andreas?
I'm actually
Well, we're
good.
EST.
I'm actually good. We can keep going if you want to. I actually don't have a hard stop, but until I have technically another 55 minutes, so it depends on how long you want to do it. I have to go eat something and pick up kids.
Okay. Yeah, we won't keep you too much longer. I after talking about the schedule and being intentional, I was like, this guy's definitely got a hard stop right now at 2:15.
No, I actually blocked. So today is an exceptional day just because we're traveling. We're going to LAX. We're picking up the kids. Then we're going to LAX and we're flying out. So that's why today I blocked my calendar up to the flight basically today.
Okay, beautiful.
Do I have
Um,
things to do? Yes, but you got me fired up. So, and both of you are asking good questions like, I didn't say that. I need to say that.
yeah, no, these are all fantastic. I'm literally writing all over this because there are things that I'm gonna want to implement myself because always want to like one of the things that I'm constantly trying to become like not obsessed but kind of obsessed with is like time and focus and attention, right? And if I could just figure out, okay, how my time, I want to spend a lot more time reflecting, a lot more time just creative thinking, free flow, and education as well. So like throughout all this time, you're constantly moving, you're thinking, and all, but I know, I think it's you said Wednesdays is the time you schedule for most. Is that most of your education time as well, where you're learning new things, reading books, outside of like from talking to other people? Or do you have other times throughout your days where you spend dedicated to just like education, books, and podcasts and things like that?
So now, when I lived in the corporate world, I had to take one day a week where I was much more strategic, not tactical. But what ended up happening was that now that I have all these other things and just how my schedule works, I had to reprioritize. So at the moment, I actually read and educate myself in the morning. I go up a little earlier, and I'm typically up at 5, and I try to get half an hour reading in the morning instead of doing it in the evening.
John, can you still
Yeah,
hear me?
Helena, I don't know what.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, but you have an echo coming a little bit, and it says your recording stopped.
Let me exit and I'll come back. Give me
Well,
one
I
second.
think okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to touch on the reading and everything. You don't get tired in the morning when you're reading?
No. So I give you a trick of how you get hyper focused, especially if you have ADHD. Do you want to wait till she's back? Okay.
Yeah, she's back. I'll say it right now. Oh my God, you're much clearer too. Right
Much,
now, it was
much better.
much clearer right
Oh,
now.
really?
Yes.
Yeah, you were. I couldn't see your face at all the last time. It was just super blurry. But
Okay.
okay. So you do your reading in the morning and a lot of the education in the morning. But I tried that before and I started getting cross-eyed when I would actually like physically read. So like, do you have like a tip to stay like kind of alert?
Yeah. So one, exercise first. Cardio. Do cardio first. Get some food, get some protein in your body, get your morning coffee if that's your thing. And then what I learned is you have to trigger multiple senses when you're reading. So for me, what that means is if I'm reading a book, I buy the physical copy, I buy the audiobook, and I sit with a pen and I take notes in the book and I listen to 2x the speed. And as soon as if I find myself zoning out, I will literally stop, stand up, do a couple of jumping jacks, go back down and sit again. And by doing so, but most of the time now I've learned to stay focused when I listen with 2x, but I try not to do it for more than 40 minutes because then I noticed I can't incorporate as much of the lessons that I'm reading about compared to if I sit longer. But 40 minutes
Mm,
every day means you literally get through a book every other week, especially at 2x the speed.
hmm.
So, and I've been doing that since I did my MBA 2012. So I've done that for a long time. Audiobooks, physical book, take a lot of notes. Like here, I always have a stack of books next to me. This is, by the way, my probably top 3 favorite books ever.
How to
How to
think like a
think like
Roman
a Roman Empire.
Uh,
Marcus Aurelius.
yeah, but this is written, and uh, it's not the meditations in itself. It's a
Hmm.
book about his life, but it's written by cognitive behavioral therapists or a psychologist who basically analyze the writing and then apply it in modern day context. That's why I love it, because a lot of the, like, literally, if someone is reading, there are 3 books you need to read if you want to become a C-level person in a corporate job. Learn this and learn to practice resilience. The second one is Pyramid Principle by Barbara Memento, basically teaching you how to communicate in a corporate executive manner. And it's Think Grow Rich. Like those 3 books can easily land you a C level. But anyway, so I was going to show you, like, I have these books are filled with notes and I have a coding system. So John, what I do in order to stay hyper focused, I take notes on social media, SM, or I take client, I write C, and I code it as I am listening, and by coding it I have to listen to how am I coding this, how will I use this information, and by doing that, listening to 2x the speed, having the audio and the book, I can go super fast.
Mm. And you follow the words along as you're listening on 2x?
No, I've learned to speed read for a long time ago. So I don't follow word by word. I go left, middle, right, left, middle, right, left, middle, right in my eyes. Because if you try to look at every word, you can't read fast. So try to, and it's the voice in when you don't have audio and you have that, you hear yourself like you're reading out loud in your head.
Uh-huh.
You got to silence that voice to speed read. So what I have learned over the years is go left, middle, right, and then you just increase the speed over time. And the thing is, if you try it and you try to be quiet while you can only look left, middle, right, you actually know what it's about roughly. but you don't know word by word. And sometimes the brain says, oh, I don't understand the book unless I know every single word. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. It's like you won't remember every single word I said, but you'll remember the context, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
So you got to learn to read that way as well. And that's how you can speed read as well.
Mm. Okay, I
Interesting.
like that.
So the pyramid
You can Google
principle,
this.
the
There's a
pyramid
lot of, oh, sorry, go, little delay. Go, Helena.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. The pyramid principle, is that from Barbara or is that from okay, from Barbara. Okay, got it.
Yeah. And it's the most boring freaking book you will ever read. All that, and I'm not saying it's for entrepreneurs, they don't have to read it, but it's a very good book to learn how to structure a message, how to effectively communicate to your employees. So as a leader, it can be useful, but you need a larger amount of employees to make it really useful. I mean, there are things in that book like, how do I quickest explain a problem and a solution? It's situation, complication, questions I asked myself, proposed answers. So for years, when I was a CEO, I asked my C level to say, give it to me in the SCQA form: situation, complication, question, answer. And by doing so, you become much more effective in your language. You don't have to, because if you're not executive, you will tell the entire freaking story of what was going on. So, like, if you were to tell the story about Titanic, you would go, it was this harbor and there was this poker game and it was the first time the ship was going to sail and they could win a ticket, and now you have explained something for me in 20 minutes and I'm bored. If you want to
Hmm.
explain the movie Titanic, spoiler alert, it's literally maiden voyage of this master new ship that was sailing to the US. Complication, it hits an iceberg, and two people that fell in love on the boat were now in the water, and there was a dilemma. One had to sacrifice. The question was, could you both survive, or did one have to sacrifice their life? One of the person, I forgot his name, DiCaprio, sacrificed his life for his new love. Like, that's the executive way of explaining that movie. I don't need to know any emotions. Anything that happened is pure fact: situation, complication, question, answer. The book is filled with how to structure your speaking and writing in that way, but it makes it very non-emotional, but it's effective.
Mm.
That
But
sounds
it's
very
boring as
interesting.
hell, that book. Like, if you want to fall, give it to John. If you're sleeping bad, you should read it.
Yeah. Put me right to sleep. One page, not even.
But
No, but it is
it taught
cool.
me to force my way of thinking in a different.
Hmm.
So many people want to tell the story of how they learn something, only to realize later in their careers it's actually not the best way to articulate. The best way to articulate it is for the person listening, depending on where they're at. And that's not, I don't care how you did your homework and everything you learned in the process, just give me the answer.
Right.
So
How often
that's
do
the
you
best way.
reread books?
Once again,
How often do you reread books?
I reread my top 20. Like this book I showed here before, I'm on my fifth run now.
Yeah.
I think, trying to think, like these books, I have a few books here next to my computer that are books that I keep going back to and rereading. This is another one, Value
Value
Proposition.
proposition design.
Yeah, I can give you a whole reading list afterwards if you want to, but
Oh,
this
that would be
one gives
awesome.
you, yeah, it's really good for people who want to understand. Just because you're good at the service doesn't mean you're good at communicating your service. So it's about how do
Hmm.
you find a messaging fit when you have product fit. This is another one that is also I keep coming back to. Um, but it's more, these are more strategy books, but they're written and done in a way that makes it very simple for you to follow the pattern. And there are many other books like this, but I reread books, probably my top 10 list every other year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I read so many books these days. Like sometimes when people ask me, "Have you read that book?" I will, probably not. And then I open it up. Oh, yeah. I read that. Yes, but it was a while ago. And then I take a few seconds. Usually, I Google the summary, or I go to what's it called,
ChatGPT.
Headway, or whatever it's called. where they give you the 10-minute summary. Because a book I read 12, 15 years ago, I won't remember it.
Right.
And then I just go, and there are these services that gives you the 15-minute summary of a book. But then when you listen to them, now I remember. Then it's fresh again.
Mm-hmm.
Headway? You said Headway?
Yeah, I think it's called here. I'll look at the app. I have it on my phone. Headway, yeah. But I don't recommend to start there. Like, only way, if you start first time you're reading a book, you can go there and get it done in 10, 15 minutes. But I have learned that if you do that, you can only apply it for yourself. If you want to teach someone else about the concepts, you have to actually have read the full book.
That makes sense. That is so, and I like all this, like we kind of got away from like business itself for a bit, but I also
Mm-hmm.
think like this is like the core um habits that any successful business leader, any successful entrepreneur needs in order to actually scale the business they want to scale. Because the habits then help them, one, reflect more, ask better questions to get the answers they need, and also to have the knowledge and the skills to to lead the company and lead the team effectively.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I add one thing as you were
yeah.
saying that summary? AI. Like, I know everyone knows AI, but I would say right now I'm probably dedicating 20 minutes a day trying to learn a new AI tool and learn the latest things. And the main reason is I'm looking for productivity hacks,
Mm.
not money, productivity. I'm probably paying $500 a month for all the services, AI services, and other things I'm playing around with right now. But the thing is, you have to relearn your pattern using AI. So, for example, I used to spend time in the corporate world replying to emails. Now I have a GPT that I've trained with my narrative and the style I'm writing. And every time I reply to an email, I take the thing I want to say, I just put it in there and I get the reply and I save a ton of time. The same goes for whenever I'm writing something, I use Claude Opus. I write it myself, English as second language. I brainstorm, I open up a Google Doc, I use voice typing, I record it all, I copy it into Claude Opus. And the reason why it has to be Opus and not Sonnet is it has very good emotional reasoning. I put it in there and I get a very good first iteration of it, and then I give that to a writer and I say, hey, can you turn this into something that isn't robotic reading? But you can take what comes from Claude Opus basically and publish that as it is. The other thing I do is for example, when I do marketing, I have a document that is just personas, psychographics, all other things about potential clients. I take that, I upload it to Claude, and then I ask it to do the task. Do it in this context. The same with GPTs. I have trained the GPT that is just my persona. So every time I ask my persona, is this a messaging that would resonate with you, will give me the reply in the context of that persona. So I'm constantly refining that. Another thing I'm using AI tool for, just this morning, I needed a picture. I don't know if you heard of Pinocchio project, but it's basically normally when you have to use the latest, greatest of all the large language models or other things within AI, you have to actually learn to code to be able to use them. But Pinocchio basically made it so it's you download one file and you can just click Flux, you can click whatever you want. So it allows you to do is basically you get a graphical user interface on something that is code and the bleeding edge within AI. So this morning, I'm like, okay, it's going to take me probably 20, 30 minutes to go find the picture I really want for a little project I'm working on. I'm working on a leadership course. I'm like, screw that. Open it up and then just use Flux and like generate me an image that is photorealistic using these, and these parameters. And then when I wrote that, just before I hit enter, I'm like, why am I prompting it? No, then I went to ChatGPT and I said, I want to generate an image using Flux in Pinocchio. What's the best prompt for me to get this result? And then that gave me a prompt that was way better. I copied that in and voila, I got my picture within roughly 5 minutes without paying anything. So
You
I
said
think,
Pinocchio?
yeah, it's a very early stage thing. I can send you the link afterwards. But what it gives you is a very simple. What I'm trying to say is like you have to, the same way as we started this conversation with, you know how you go from the 0 to 3 million, 3 million to 10. Like there are phases like that, going from growing to scaling mycin, from fear based to abundance. I have to unlearn how I have operated without AI. And now I find myself every single day challenging myself. How can I be more effective using AI? There must be a tool out there for it. And I try to apply AI for almost everything. Um, I sadly English a second language, and I have a clear dialect, so I can't get the audio messages. You remember how I said how I reply with audio messages to people? I can't make it talk Swinglish yet, Swedish English. So that I can't make it sound good enough. Otherwise, I would use AI there as well, for sure. And I would have that generate the audio message that I could send to someone. It would save me minutes on every single, because now I don't have to sit for 2-3 minutes to
Right.
share the message. I can sit 30 seconds in a prompt, copy paste it, and be done. So I'm constantly looking for ways how to automate everything and how to save time using AI. And obviously, I can use virtual assistants and other assistants than I am, but it's not the same. Like I can, the more effective I can be, the faster I go. And again, it's a compound thing. Like if I can just free up minutes every day, that's hours in a week. That's days in a year. That's years in decades. Like the amount, like, no, I have to figure this out. So I'm very curious about AI, and I understand it takes time to invest in time
Hmm.
into it, but it's not that complicated. So AI, 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 and don't be afraid of it. Just embrace it. Skynet is already here. Robots are already controlling us. Just accept it. If people have been spying on your cell phone for the last 20 years anyway, just give up. You don't have a personal identity.
Just accept it.
Just accept it. But it's kind of insane all the things you can do that. I'll give you another one. I was sitting in the weekend, and I'm currently, because a lot of people ask me, how do I go from director to VP? How do I become a VP to an SVP to a C level to CEO? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to create an assessment, because for me, it's very clear how you get from the different phases from a leadership perspective. So I made an assessment, and I was like, okay, how do I code this assessment? And I started, so I'm a software engineer, right? So I started building the pseudo code, and then probably 90 minutes in, I go like, why am I doing this? I can probably just find the right AI tool and will code everything for me. Took me about 20 minutes to figure it out, and then another 20 minutes, and I had the application written purely by just prompting it using my voice. And I could
Mm.
deploy that directly as with a proper JavaScript, with a proper backend implementation, hiding away the API keys, with a ChatGPT integration, and that is actually effective as well, so you don't take too much money. And I could deploy the assignment. And then I realized, of course, it was a good prototype, but then I could give that to the agency, and I would have spent so much time explaining to the web agency what I wanted to build, instead of just doing a prototype using AI, dropping it over to them, and then go, wow, I didn't know you were this good at coding. I'm like, I'm not.
It's not me.
So things that you can't even imagine, like
Hmm.
things I couldn't even imagine half a year ago, just matter of hours, minutes, things that would have taken, like me coding that would have been a 2-3 weeks project. Now it was one day, done, ship it.
I love AI. Without AI, we're using AI for a lot of our SOPs now, and it's just game changing. I just feed it information, let it memorize it, and then I just build off that and just keep everything on one prompt.
Yeah. You retrain everything. I'm doing the same. So right now I'm doing Dripify outreach on LinkedIn, and the communication there, I'm analyzing what is working, not working. So I think that the whole thing with AI, curiosity, and constantly thinking, how can I improve it and how can I be more effective? It's amazing how much you can discover using AI. But
I
anyway,
know.
it's just the beginning. So I would say any entrepreneur, regardless of age, they got to get curious about it, and then they got to make sure that they're constantly teaching their employees. I had one of the people in my CEO peer group, he's like, "Oh, I don't like AI," and we had a few employees who asked if they could buy it, but I don't like it, so I said no. It's $20 per month. I'm like, do you realize the efficiency loss? Like, if I were you, I would get everyone a ChatGPT, a Claude, a Perplexity license, and I would just pay for every single person in the company right now, and I would encourage them all to use it. And why? Because it's statistically been proven over and over again that if you use these tools, you're more effective than 90% of the people who are not using it, even if you're not that skilled yourself.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Stupid. But
Wow.
he changed his mind. So he went back. I hope he doesn't listen to this, but he changed his mind and gave people at least ChatGPT.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I love there's so much things to implement now. And the ChatGPT has just been getting curious, like you said, getting curious with it, telling it like, hey, can you replicate, like I want you to become a super brain with these people. Do you have it? You good? Okay, awesome. Now you start asking the questions. Now you have like an advisor as well. And they're just getting smarter and smarter and smarter. So
And
um
I reverse prompt it all the time now. I say, I don't tell me how I best should ask you to solve this problem. And then it
ooh,
gives me the prompt, and then I use that prompt, and I get a way better answer than my stupid prompt.
reverse prompt. Tell me how to ask you this question, right?
How do I ask you this question to get the best answer? And what are the variables I should be using when I'm prompting you to get the results I'm looking for solving X? And that way, it's just a copy. Then it gives you, usually it gives you like, here are the parameters you should think, and you should not do this, you should do this, you should do that. And then you just say, okay, I like this, I dislike this, give me a prompt that this does this. Here is a prompt I would use. You get the prompt, then you say,
Mm,
now use that prompt on yourself. Boom, very good results.
that's
That's
genius.
powerful.
All right. This has been, I could just keep going down this rabbit hole of like, habits and personal development and ChatGPT and all this stuff. But you got kids to pick up, and I'm sure there's a million messages on red right now. So this has been absolutely amazing. But we end the podcast asking the same three questions. And pretty much we got into most of them, but I'm just gonna ask them anyway because that's what we do. So the first one is, what do you do every day to keep your mind right, the mindset and mindfulness practices that you do each day just to stay in the right type of mindset to keep going your entrepreneur journey?
Operate your day with full awareness. Find time in the morning, the lunch, and the evening to take a step back, reflect on what you're doing, and think, am I doing the things that will carry my business to the goals I have set? And if not, course correct in the moment. Don't wait for the next day. You're wasting your life if you do so.
Mm.
Love it. The second question we ask is, what are some things you are doing to, stay cutting edge for the industry knowledge, for things you want to learn? I think you mentioned about, reading books, listening to books, using AI, anything else you typically do?
I think there are three things to stay on top of everything right now. Number one, think that the brain dies twice. The first time is when you say, I'm not curious anymore. And the second time is when your heart stops beating. Try to time it in the same second. So stay
Mm.
curious. Number two is use AI for everything. And then I would say it's the opposite. It's like educate yourself daily by reading, talking to people, surrounding yourself with people that are much smarter than you are. But for the love of whatever you believe in, take action. Don't wait, because I think we have a pandemic in this country of overeducation without action.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And
So,
if
like, to discover all kinds of AI tool, like, do people just Google what's new AI available and try all of them, or is there a more systematic approach for knowing more AI stuff?
I go to networking events and I love asking other tech people, what's your favorite AI tool right now? I have
ooh,
started incorporated it into what do you do? And sometimes I ask people, what's your favorite quote or question you ever heard? Now I started asking, what's the one AI tool that you think is going to change the world? So I got curious. I used my curiosity and I asked people more, but I also listened to. I have a lot of people around me in the tech sector, so it's hard for me not to be bombarded with suggestions.
Yeah. And even in ChatGPT, you could go on the side and it gives you other AI tools for specific categories like productivity, writing, things like that. I haven't messed around with those too much. 'Cause I'm still learning how to effectively use ChatGPT, right? But there's some crazy ones over there, and I'll
There is a
probably.
website that tracks. There's something. Is there an AI tool for this or something like that? And there is a website who has thousands of them where people are
Oof.
voting. I forgot what the site is called right now, but people are voting which ones are really good. I think the bare minimum everyone should know is ChatGPT is not the best for writing. Claude Opus is better for writing if you want ethos, pathos, logos, which is emotional reasoning, authoritative reasoning, and logical reasoning. And then Perplexity is really good. Then I really like to play around in Pinocchio, but that's a little bit more advanced. And I use Flux there for image or Clarity Refines for fixing images and stuff like that. But there are
Mhm.
many audio chat things. You can do a lot of things in that one.
Love that. And then lastly, what piece of advice would you give to newer entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that are kind of in like that messy middle, to that want to scale and build something exceptional?
I'm just going to say it this way: begin again, begin again, skip the step where you beat yourself up, simply begin again.
Mm.
People are so afraid of failing. They're spending too much worrying. They're being anxious, worried. Am I doing the right thing? Every time that thought comes to your mind, begin again. Every time you find yourself procrastinating, begin again. Every time you have stopped your diet, begin again. Every time you have stopped journaling and meditating, begin again. Every time you haven't slept enough, begin again. Every time you have failed on a business, begin again. Like, I can't explain the powerful aspect of that mantra, begin again.
Mhm. Yeah,
That
it
is
definitely,
so
because some
powerful.
people, once they start going off the track a little bit, they just completely let it go and then, got even worse. So it's completely different
Mhm.
mindset from that.
Begin again.
Begin
Mm-hmm.
again. Love it.
Love it.
Well, Andreas, that has been very, very insightful. Great. Like I said, I could have kept going for hours, just going back and forth with those questions. So thank you so much for sharing your insight. Is there anything you want to promote? If people want to get in touch with you or are interested in the program, how do people get in touch with you?
So, or I would say the best way to get in touch with me is Instagram, and just direct message me. I reply to every message people send me. Even if people have business concerns, leadership concerns, if they leave a voice memo, I usually reply, or if they explain it shortly, but please, situation, complication, question, answer. But if they do that, I have no problem. As long as you're not abusing it, I'm not giving away, like, I'm not coaching you or advising you for free. But if it's smaller stuff, I would love to help you. So Instagram, and then the other way is leadersadapt.com is my website. Every time I'm coaching someone, advising them, mentoring them, whatever you call it, when I see a pattern, I write it down. I write it down often in a free blog post, a free ebook. I even, like, just now I realized the pattern that I spend the first 4 to 6 weeks with every client on. And I wrote that down and I put it on my Instagram profile. You just have to put in your email so I can spam you with my newsletter. But that's the only thing. And I wrote down the 12 steps to finding your North Star, which is really making people hyper focused. So it's for people who are going from 0 to 3 million, roughly. And they're making a massive transformational change in their life. I put that on my Instagram profile. I think it's the second link. But the point is, leadersadapt.com. I put everything on blog posts. I put out a ton of free tools. I try to actually, I'm working on a leadership training right now that is over 120 slides already. I don't even know what to do with it. I thought I was just going to give it to all the people that are my clients, But now I'm thinking of putting it out there, portions of it for free anyway, because I think a lot of people needs the fundamentals before, and they need to get to a level where they can afford me, basically. So I'm trying to figure out how to get more people to be able to afford me. But my
Love that.
point is, I'm not sitting on any secrets. I even yesterday I even put out like how I mentor people and how I recommend others should be mentoring people as well.
That's fantastic. Love that. I'm gonna look for that and hopefully start seeing if I get onto that subscriber list to start seeing those slides coming out slowly but surely.
Feel free to use it. Like, life is too short. I can't reinvent the wheel. And the people who really want to work with me and don't want to invent the wheel themselves, but hyper grow it and save years, like, call me, contact me. I would love to work with you. I am a little picky though. It got to be a match. It got to be a match both ways. So I don't take on anyone. I got to make sure that you are willing to take action. That people I work with, like 4 to 6 months, you are gonna bust your ass. You better have time, and you're going
Mm.
to be a different individual after that time, though. Scaling up mindset, not growth mindset. Yeah.
Some great words. Really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much
having me.
yeah, it was our pleasure and it was a lot of fun.
Love the
Thank
Well,
you
questions.
so much, Andreas.
thank you.
All right,
Take
have a
care,
nice
everyone.
trip and happy holidays.